There are thousands of satellites flying around Earth. Some are needed to provide communication and others monitor the weather and climate changes. In 2009, one of these satellites was circling our planet and scanning the waves reflected from the Earth's surface. The satellite was looking for changes in the emission of carbon dioxide coming from the planet, but it found something else, something that completely changed the principle of studying the Earth's ecosystem. The source of the wave was utterly unknown. Scientists wanted to know the nature of these waves, so they tuned the satellite's instruments to the desired frequency and looked at the Earth. At that moment, they saw an unknown red glow surrounding our entire planet. In some places, the glow was weak, and while in others, it shone brightly. At first, everyone assumed that it was sunlight reflected from the Earth and produced unknown red particles. However, the analysis showed the glow's source was on our planet, and it never came from the sun's atmosphere. The glow may be the result of humanity, city lights, exhaust, fumes, or something else. But again, scientists made a mistake. The brightest red light was radiated from places without humans. There were no traces of modern civilization. It turned out those places were swarming with plants. The brightest waves come from the Amazon jungle, croplands of the Midwestern US, northern evergreen forests, and other green areas. To understand the cause of the planetary red shining, scientists began to restudy plants. Every living tree, leaf, or blade of grass absorbs carbon dioxide and produces oxygen necessary for life. Plants manage to do it thanks to their ability to absorb sunlight. This process is called photosynthesis. New research showed that every plant emits a red glow during photosynthesis. It happens because they don't absorb all the incoming sunlight. They give part of it back in the form of a red glow, and this part is only 1% from all the receiving sunlight. This small amount of red light is impossible to see with the naked eye, but if you look at millions of plants from afar, the wave can be noticed. But still, with the help of special devices, this new photosynthesis process is called chlorophyll fluorescence. This is a hugely important discovery that allows people to monitor the state of nature. Previously, changing the color of trees helped us understand that something was wrong with the forests. For example, if a tree turns yellow, then it's probably not healthy, and we could observe the plant's state through satellites. But there are many exceptions to this method. In autumn, in many regions, almost all trees turn yellow and shed their leaves. But in any case, this monitoring system is not very effective. If we see an unhealthy tree because of its yellow leaves, then it's already too late to cure it. Any change in the red glow allows determining problems with the vegetation before the leaf color changes. And this helps to do something just in time. With the help of satellites, people can now see the problem areas of the planet. Also, the glow helps understand how much carbon dioxide and oxygen trees emit. We can learn about the plant's problem even before it occurs. The glow also comes from seaweed and phytoplankton. More than 50% of the oxygen in the atmosphere comes from oceans. Theoretically, it's possible to scan other planets in search of the red glow to understand which of them has a habitable atmosphere. The red glow doesn't only come from our planet. In the depths of outer space, through a telescope, you can see the Horsehead Nebula, one of the most beautiful places in the universe. It's located in the constellation Orion. People called it so because of the similarity with the thrown-back head of a horse. This nebula was first discovered in 1888. This huge area of space is illuminated with a rich red color. This beautiful shining is possible because there are many super powerful blue stars inside the nebula. Their energy is absorbed by one of the most common substances in the universe, hydrogen, H2. Hydrogen atoms receive such a strong charge from super powerful stars that they emit red light when they collide with electrons. Just imagine if a super powerful star was burning near our solar system, or if our planet was located in the Horsehead Nebula, perhaps we wouldn't notice the red glow, so we would live inside this glow. We can observe beautiful multicolored nebulae only from the side, being thousands of light years away from it. Let's go back to our planet. By the way, there's another amazing glow surrounding Earth. It seems to be pulsating, shimmering with different colors, constantly changing its shape. If you look at our planet through special equipment, you will see that it's located inside this pulsating, uneven bubble. The bubble layer is quite thick. It covers the planet at an altitude of 5,400 miles, 50 mixi, or 80 km, or 400 meters, or 640 km, or above the surface. Even the International Space space station flies inside this glow, almost all the satellites surrounding the Earth are in the zone too. It's called the ionosphere. It ensures the operation of communication and navigation systems. It helps radio signals and jeeps to get to our mobile phones. The ionosphere is a layer of charged particles that separates the upper layers of the atmosphere from pure space. In simple words, this is a sort of an edge of our planet, the boundary between the place where we can breathe and the complete vacuum. Sunlight takes 1 or 2 electrons from the gases around the Earth, so these gases become charged particles. A huge accumulation of these floating particles creates the ionosphere. It's constantly changing its shape and size as the planet is rotating around its axis and sunlight's falling unevenly. During the day, the ionosphere is always larger than during the night. Because of this, it looks pulsating and moving in different directions. This instability shortens the life of orbiting satellites and often puts them out of action, but it also helps to provide communication. Radio signals and jeeps pass through it and reflect from charged particles and fly to our phones and navigation devices. Earth is not only glowing, but also pulsating. An unknown pulse is coming from the surface or the depths of the planet. The pulsation repeats every 26 seconds and never stops. At some point, it's similar to a human heart. It's working almost in the center of the chest. Earth's pulse comes from the planet's center, the equator, but the exact location of the source is unknown. In the 1960s, the pulse called microseism was discovered by seismologists in the US. More than 50 years have passed, and scientists around the world still don't know the nature of this phenomenon. It seems as if our planet has a heart hidden inside the crust. According to research, this heart may be located in the southern or equatorial part of the Atlantic Ocean in the Gulf of Guinea called the Bight of Bonny. Every winter, the pulse increases, but then its strength weakens again. Scientists began to explore this place and put forward the theory that the ocean creates the pulse. Waves cross the surface and hit the continental shelf of the planet. This impact deforms the ocean floor. A strike to any flat surface works on the same principle. Hit any plate with a hammer and you will feel a vibration through the object. The same beats are created by waves hitting the coastline. There are waves all over the world, not only at the equator. So why does microseism occur at the equator? Because in this place, the sun heats our planet the most. Solar energy increases storms and winds, accelerates ocean currents. Also, in 1980, geologists found out that microseism pulsates powerfully during storms when the waves hit the shore stronger. Not all scientists agree with this theory. Some researchers believe the planet is pulsating because of the seismic volcanic activity, and there's one that's located on one of the islands in the Bight of Bonny. The place of pulse origin is close to this volcano, but further observations have shown that microseism can be found in all places of the Gulf of Guinea. Scientists still can't prove any of the hypotheses. Our universe is full of both amazing and terrifying things. You already know about quasars, black holes, dark matter, and so on. But how about the horrors of space that you haven't even heard of? Would you like to visit the most bizarre worlds in the universe? And it's not me who made this list, but NASA themselves. Welcome to the Galaxy of Horrors, NASA's awesome Halloween collection. Please join me on a journey to some planets and tell me which one you will consider the most horrible. Buckle up. Our first destination is a gas giant called TRES 2b. It's located 750 light-years away from us. If we used a regular spaceship, it would take us about 10 million years to get there. Orbits a yellow dwarf, a star similar to our Sun. It also weighs about 1.5 times more than Jupiter. So, what's so special about it? Well, if you're afraid of the dark, you definitely don't want to visit this place. It's the planet of eternal night, the darkest one of all the planets known to us. But it's not that far from its star, so why is that? The thing is, the surface of TRES 2b reflects light even worse than coal does. Because of this, it seems that there's no light at all. If you were flying across the surface of this planet, it would be like walking with a blindfold on your eyes. Oh, wait. Actually, there is some light. An eerie, deep red glow surrounds the surface of the planet. This glow is created by the burning atmosphere, which makes TRES 2b a scorching planet. The air there is even hotter than lava. Oh, but if you think that was bad, let me show you the next place of our horror journey. NASA wasn't beating about the bush while nicknaming this one. Now, we're not just talking about one planet, but three at once. They're also located quite far away, 2,300 light years from the Sun. We would have reached them by ship in about 35 million years. All the planets are in the constellation Virgo, and each is extremely light, much lighter than the Earth. These three exoplanets are called Poltergeist, Draugr, and Phobator. Cool names, huh? It's because each of these planets is about to become a ghost soon. The thing is, they don't revolve around a star, but around a pulsar. Pulsars are rotating neutron stars with an extremely powerful magnetic field. In simple words, these are the stars that exploded one day. After the explosion, they usually emit such a powerful pulse that it causes the star to rotate at an unimaginable speed, several thousand rotations per second. At the same time, they constantly emit electromagnetic pulses that affect everything around them. So, you've probably already guessed what is happening with our zombie planets. They're slowly, gradually, being destroyed under the gigantic influence of radiation. One day, they'll disappear without a trace, ghost-like planets orbiting an undead star. Yeah, Zombie World is a fitting name. It's also not surprising that scientists nicknamed this pulsar Lich, despite the long official name. Well, at least these guys stick together on their final dance. This planet has a long name, so bear with me. HD 18733b. This gas giant is 65 light years away from us. It would have taken around 1 million years to get there on a spaceship. HD, this planet is slightly more massive than Jupiter and orbits its star, an orange dwarf, all alone. At first glance, it may seem friendly. Pleasant blue color and curls on the surface. Kinda resembles a summer sky or foam on sea waves, right? Oh, looks are very deceptive, my friend. This planet has a pleasant cobalt blue color due to the hazy blowtorched atmosphere. This atmosphere contains silicates that condense when heated. In other words, the clouds on this planet have rain, made of glass. Yes, it rains hot glass shards here. Oh, and if that's not enough, there's a raging wind on the surface, which is moving at a speed of 5,400 miles per hour. Just to compare, the fastest wind on Earth had a speed of 254 miles per hour, about 20 times weaker. And because of this, hundreds of thousands of glass shards rush horizontally across the planet's surface at breakneck speed. I really don't envy anyone who would try to land here. By the way, this isn't the only example of strange rains in our universe. For example, it rains molten iron on the planet Dimidium. Or let's take so-called carbon planets. Their existence hasn't yet been proven, but if they do exist, there would be tons of black, poisonous clouds, and it would rain pure gasoline and hot liquid asphalt. Oh, and also, raindrops would explode upon touching the surface. Nothing special. The next planet, though, is actually really strange. It didn't just revolve around its star, it lived inside the star. This cosmic miracle is called KOI 55b, or Kepler 70b. This planet is very far away from us, 4,000 light years. It would take about 70 million years on a spaceship. It's twice as light as Earth and fully rotates around its star in just a couple of hours. A long time ago, it was an ordinary Earth-like planet about the size of Jupiter. It was peacefully and calmly orbiting its red dwarf star, KOI 55. But everything changed about 700 million years ago. Perhaps you've heard that in a couple of billion years, our sun will begin to expand into a huge star, absorbing everything in its path. This is the fate of red dwarfs. Sooner or later, they increase, turning into incredibly hot blue giants. The same thing happened with KOI 55. This star began to increase in size and heat up in temperature, gradually turning into a blue-white giant. It was ready to devour its nearest planets. But KOI 55b didn't care about it. When the star reached it, this planet just settled inside. And moreover, after some time, it left its star, simply returning to the new orbit. How is that even possible? Life inside its star turned KOI 55b into a red-hot roundstone. It's one of the hottest planets we've discovered so far. The temperature on it reaches 12,000 degrees of Fahrenheit. It's hotter than the sun, which is, let me remind you, an actual star. And for some reason, it's still alive and lives as if nothing happened. Unfortunately, sooner or later, the planet will disappear anyway. It's slowly evaporating itself due to the incandescent atmosphere. But still, it somehow managed to survive the journey through the star, which isn't typical for the regular planets, to put it mildly. I envy this willpower. However, not all planets are so lucky. Some are gradually being destroyed by their stars, and there is even an entire system among them. This last planet is a sad loner. It's located 870 light years away from us. The journey by ship to it would take about 25 million years. This planet is about 1.5 times more massive than Jupiter. This is a very sad, dark planet. A doomed gas giant, which is very similar to hot Jupiter, orbits its star all alone. At the same time, it's located so close to its star that its orbital period takes just 1 day. Of course, because of this proximity, the star gradually absorbs WASP-12b. The scorching heat of the star is slowly destroying and devouring the planet's atmosphere. The planet has only around 10 million years left. But what's more interesting, because of this stretching, WASP-12b acquired the shape of an egg. It doesn't even resemble an actual planet anymore. It's also very hot. The surface temperature of the gas giant reaches 4,000 degrees of Fahrenheit. Also, a spectrograph of cosmic origin, or QIS for short, found that the planet exchanges matter with its star. They're located so close that they give each other part of their chemical elements. This is a common phenomenon in closely spaced binary star systems. But this is the first time scientists have seen this in a star-planet relationship. What a unique system. To be honest, if I was guaranteed complete security, I'd be excited to visit at least some of them. What about you? Please let me know in the comments. Hey look, some magical stuff is happening around you. Let's check out some real photos of overwhelming phenomena our Earth offers, and I'll chat about the science behind them. The rainbow-colored scarf cloud is a very rare natural phenomenon. World Meteorological Organization says that this kind of cloud is called pileus clouds. Here's how this rainbow scarf cloud takes shape. There are accessory clouds that depend on a larger cloud system in their development. An accessory cloud widens horizontally and gets shaped like a cap at the top. It attaches itself to the upper part of another cloud. These clouds don't last long, similar in time to a regular rainbow. The main cloud underneath eventually rises and absorbs the rainbow cloud. Who wants to see the ocean glowing and glittering like the sky full of stars? This phenomenon is called bioluminescence. When it happens, waves start sparkling neon blue, thanks to a natural chemical process. Living organisms, such as tiny crustaceans and algae, use bioluminescence to trick predators, attract prey, or find potential mates. Sparkling nightlights have been photographed across Australia and the Indian Ocean. This form of ice is called hair ice. It looks like cotton candy, but it melts away with the sun, not rain. Hair ice is a very unusual phenomenon, and it only forms under specific conditions. It grows on the surface of particular kinds of wood at temperatures below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. If the weather is calm and humid, the hairs can grow up to 8 inches long. In 2015, scientists discovered the fungus responsible for this smooth, silky ice hair. The presence of this fungus leads to a process called ice segregation. The fungus prevents ice crystals from gathering into more stable shapes. I mean, ice can still form on these branches when there's no fungus, but it would be shaped just like normal, not hair-like, ice. So what does this fungus do to make this magic happen? Due to the liquid near the surface of branches is in contact with chilly air. This creates a thin layer of ice. It blends a thin layer of water between the ice and the wood pores. This results in a suction force that pushes the water out of the pores toward the ice at the surface. It freezes there and adds to the existing ice layer. The process repeats over and over. Here you go. Thin hairs of ice are pushed out of the wood. Lake Baikal in Siberia is famous for its crystalline waters. It's the largest freshwater lake on the planet by volume. It contains 20% of Earth's freshwater. It's also very wide. To put it in perspective, it's larger than Belgium.
Plus, it's the oldest lake in the world, about 25 million years old.
And when it freezes during the winter, large shards of transparent ice form on its surface. They appear turquoise because the lake has clear waters. These gem-colored ice structures on the lake's surface are called hummocks. Hummocks are ice splinters. When fierce winds around the lake push its waters into waves, they freeze into these turquoise blocks. Hummocks can be 32 to 39 feet high. Take a look at Naga fireballs. This natural wonder occurs in a specific area around the Mekong River in China. They appear throughout the year, but they're more common during the full moon in late autumn. How they appear is a mystery. These fireballs seem to rise from the water. They can go as high as 985 feet. They are like fireworks, disappearing just as rapidly. They typically have a reddish or orange glow. Did you know that earthquakes emit light too? It turns out that earthquake lights have been around for centuries. They appear before, during, or immediately after an earthquake. They're generally white or blue. The lights rarely last for more than a few seconds, so it's hard to capture them on camera. Yet, on rare occasions, they can shine for up to 10 minutes. Sometimes, they are at the epicenter, while at other times, they're seen up to 250 miles away. They have been spotted over the ocean, too. Scientists know for sure that how powerful an earthquake is somehow influencing this phenomenon. The lights have only been reported during earthquakes rating 5.0 or more on the Richter scale. Scientists have some theories, but it's still a bit of a mystery why the lights exist in the first place. Moonbows have similar principles to rainbows. They occur when the light gets reflected off water droplets in the sky, yet they are much rarer than rainbows. They can appear only under certain conditions. When the moon is very low over the horizon, the sky is dark, and water droplets are in the part of the sky opposite the moon. Halos, also known as circle rainbows, are an optical phenomenon forming high in the sky when the light gets reflected off ice crystals. They look like large circles of white or colored light circling the sun or the moon. The next one is not as rare as the others just mentioned. A sinkhole forms in the ground as a result of some form of collapse of the surface layer. Most sinkholes are caused by the chemical dissolution of carbonate rocks. They're usually circular and vary in shape and size, both in diameter and depth, and you don't want to drive into one of those. A fire whirl is a whirlwind induced by fire. Most of the time, it's composed of flames or ash. This phenomenon is also sometimes called a fire tornado or fire twister. It's pretty clear how it got this nickname. It looks like a tornado and it's made of fire. Yet these terms usually refer to a separate thing, where a fire has such intensity that it creates an actual tornado. Fire whirls are different. They don't usually count as tornadoes as the vortex doesn't extend all the way from the ground to the cloud base. Lenticular clouds are usually in parallel alignment to the wind direction. They have a particular shape. I mean, look at it. That's what people imagine when they think about a spaceship of visitors from outer space. Amacha Wagjas and guess mean. Many people dream of witnessing this one. The Aurora Borealis or the famous Northern Lights. It's a free natural light show in the sky. Charged particles from the sun strike atoms in Earth's atmosphere. Then they cause electrons in these atoms to change to a higher energy state. Eventually, the electrons get back to a lower energy state. That's when they release photons of light. Obviously, Nordic countries are the best places to see this show. But hey, you can see the Northern Lights in Scotland too. The Morning Glory Cloud is a very long, rolled cotton-like cloud. It's seen occasionally in various parts of the world, but there's one place on our planet where they occur on a regular basis. It's the Gulf of Carpentaria in northern Australia. These clouds can stretch for 620 miles. Plus, there can be more than one morning glory cloud at one time. So far, we have seen moonbows, halos, and many other phenomena.
But how about looking at a fire rainbow? The fire rainbow is much easier to say, but the real name of this thing is a circumhorizontal arc. Say it with me. Circumhorizontal arc. Very good. It's another cool optical phenomenon that occurs in cirrostratus clouds. Check this out. The next two cool facts are related to animals. What would you do if 1,000,000 butterflies flew over your head? This might happen when you see monarch butterflies while they're migrating to Mexico or Southern California. These butterflies cannot cope with cold winters, nor can I. So, every fall, they migrate either to the south or west, where it's warm all year long. This is a field completely covered with spider webs. This phenomenon only occurs when spiders flee from floods or some other kind of natural disaster. When they leave, they find a higher place to spin their webs. Usually, such a place is a tree or an agricultural field. Since many of them gather in the same safe region, they all make their webs at the same time. Doesn't this huge spider web look like a thick blanket? Yeah, you go lie down in that. Just kidding. Have you ever come across unique natural phenomena? Comment below and let me know. Something is nearing the surface of the planet. It looks like a fireball hurtling closer and closer at a truly incredible speed. Soon it becomes obvious that the collision is inevitable. Bam! The impact leaves a huge crater. It evaporates thousands of cubic miles of solid rock, and it also sets off a series of terrible natural disasters. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You believe I'm talking about the catastrophic collision that occurred around 66 million years ago on Earth. You know, the one responsible for the extinction of non-avian dinosaurs and 3/4 of other life forms on our planet. But no, the disaster I'm talking about happened on a different planet. Scientists think that our close neighbor, Mars, once experienced the same catastrophe that struck Earth. It happened around 3.4 billion years ago. An asteroid collision might have caused a mega tsunami on the red planet, similar to the one caused by the Chicxulub impact on Earth. Scientists have identified an impact crater on Mars that was probably left by a comet or asteroid collision with the surface of the planet. Most likely, the space body landed in an ocean in the Martian northern lowlands, and the impact was so powerful that it caused a mega tsunami. Before the latest studies, the exact location of the impact crater wasn't verified. It was just a theory. To confirm it, a team of astronomers simulated a comet and asteroid collision in the area where they supposed the impact crater was. They even named this crater Pole. Pole is 68 miles across and lies in a region that is almost 400 feet below the supposed sea level. Anyway, the simulations formed several craters of the same size as Pole. One of the simulations claimed that these craters had been left by a 5-mi-wide asteroid that had encountered strong ground resistance. The other simulation showed that the craters had been caused by a bit smaller asteroid that met a weaker ground resistance. But according to both simulations, the impact crater was almost 70 miles in diameter, and the collisions produced mega tsunamis up to 900 miles away from the center of the impact site. The simulations also helped scientists estimate the height of the tsunami. It was about 820 feet tall, almost as tall as the Eiffel Tower. The authors of the study also suggest that the Pole crater might be similar to the Chicxulub impact crater on our planet. The Chicxulub asteroid, as we now know it, is believed to come from the outer reaches of the solar system. This space body was at least 6 miles across. It crashed into the shallow seawaters near the Yucatan Peninsula. This splashdown was so powerful that it left its signature on the entire face of the planet. In 2021, researchers found out that the collision had carved mega ripples into Earth's crust in the region of modern-day central Louisiana. An even newer study suggests that the asteroid also triggered a tsunami so devastating it eroded seafloor sediments half a world away. The team of scientists remodeled the events of the first 10 minutes after the impact and the model showed that the asteroid had produced waves up to 30,000 times greater than one of the largest tsunamis people have ever recorded, the Indian Ocean tsunami that hit Indonesia in 2004. The collision displaced so much water that it created a wave almost a mile high. That's like 2 Burj Khalifas, which is the tallest construction in the world, stacked one on top of the other. And of course, all that empty place didn't stay empty for long. The ocean gushed back to fill the crater, but in the process, it only ricocheted off the crater's rim, which produced even more waves. After that, tsunami waves that were more than 33 feet tall traveled around the world at a speed of 3 feet per second, lashing at all coastlines on their way. Imagine a 3-story building rushing up to you. No wonder the largest and fastest moving waves occurred near the impact area in the open waters of the Gulf of Mexico. Those rose more than 330 feet tall, which is taller than the Statue of Liberty, and moved at speed 10 times greater than more distant tsunami waves. But back to the red planet. Some experts think that not 1 but 2 megatsunamis could happen on Mars. They could be triggered by a pair of meteor impacts that were several millions of years apart. Between these 2 collisions, Mars went through a period of climate changes. As a result, liquid water on its surface turned into ice. In other words, the first asteroid impact most likely produced waves composed of liquid water, and the second tsunami was probably formed by rounded chunks of ice water. By the way, the largest asteroid to have ever crashed into Earth might not actually be the one that ended dinosaurs. A much more catastrophic collision likely happened about 3.5 billion years ago. New evidence scientists found in northwestern Australia suggests that the asteroid I'm talking about was 12 to 18 miles across. It struck Earth at immense speed, releasing an unimaginable amount of energy. This made me think, what if something like that happened these days? More than 30,000 objects that are circling Earth these days can potentially crash into our planet. NASA considers around 1,500 of them to be potentially hazardous. These space rocks are the remains left after the solar system was formed some 4.6 billion years ago. For example, in 2004, astronomers discovered a huge asteroid nearing Earth. The first observations showed that the chance of the space rock hitting our planet was less than 3%. The asteroid was named Apophis. It's more than 1,200 feet across and weighs about 20 million tons. It's supposed to streak across the sky on April 13th, 2029. Apophis will pass at a distance of 19,000 miles away from Earth's surface. But even though this space rock might miss our planet in 2029, it doesn't mean it won't return 15 years later in 2036. If such an object hits our planet, the consequences will be unpredictable. They can vary from shattered glass and broken windows to most life forms getting wiped off the face of the Earth. And it'll probably affect the internet. That last thought is truly scary. But luckily, modern technologies are likely to help us avoid any catastrophic consequences. Experts have developed several ways to prevent a real-life disaster movie from happening. For one thing, we could use a spacecraft to knock this visitor from outer space off its course. Or it could somehow be blasted into pieces. Scientists could also slow the thing down with the help of concentrated sunlight, or people could probably tug it away with a gravity tractor. That's a theoretical spacecraft that can influence objects in space without touching them. In sci-fi movies, a huge asteroid often sneaks up on Earth and turns out to be a nasty surprise to astronomers. It hurtles toward our planet at breakneck speed, and gets discovered just weeks or even days before the collision. In reality, scientists are constantly watching all large objects in Earth's neighborhood. It means there would be plenty of time to do something before the inevitable happened. There are 3 kinds of missions scientists could prepare at short notice. Type 0, when a heavy spacecraft hurtles toward the intruder with one single goal, to knock it off its course. In this case, astronomers would have to rely on the already available information. The Type 1 mission would involve a scout. It would be launched first to get more close-up information about the space rock. Only after that, the main spacecraft would be launched. With more precise information, its journey would be way more productive. And if scientists chose the Type 2 mission, they would send a scout and a small spacecraft at the same time. The spacecraft would knock the asteroid a bit off its course. Then, the scout would collect all the necessary information. Based on this data, the spacecraft would finish its job with a more fine-tuned second push. If none of these methods worked, people could try going deep underground, or even build a shelter on the ocean floor. But in this case, we'd need to find sources of energy that could help us survive for at least several decades. Plus, people would have to create a life support system that could somehow keep air and water fresh. Astronomers have recently found a strange object far away from Earth. It disappears every 2 minutes and sends out waves of radio noise 3 times in 1 hour. It was first seen by a student named Tyrone O'Doherty while he was looking at the sky in his home country, Australia. This space object appears to be different from anything else we've seen before in space. Because of their calculated movements, scientists call these types of objects transients. Turns out, they are not that rare to find. When scientists study transients, most of the time, they look near a big star or near the things it leaves behind after it goes out. Transients come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. Some transients are slow, take a few days to appear, and stay around for a couple of months. Other transients are very fast and only appear for a second. But there are not many transients that are in between these two speeds. It's what makes this latest discovery very special and unexpected. Speaking of weird things we've found in the universe, the toughest object we know of is made from the remains of a star that has faded away. Scientists have found out through experiments that when the center of a faded star is squeezed by a lot of gravity, it turns in a type of spaghetti-like material that is extremely strong. Even if you could technically touch it with your hand and try to break it, you would need to use 10 billion times more force than it takes to break steel. Planets can be weird too. Haumea is a perfect example. This dwarf planet moves around the sun far away from Earth, beyond Neptune. It's different from other planets because it's shaped like a sausage and has 2 small moons. It also spins very fast. One day on this planet is only 4 Earth hours long. In 2017, scientists saw something strange when Haumea passed in front of a star. They noticed very thin rings around it, which probably appeared when other various space objects were hitting each other in its vicinity a long time ago. Ever heard of a moon? It's a fancy name for a moon that orbits another moon. People on the internet let their creative side go wild with this one and gave it all sorts of different names, like submoon, moonito, grand moon, and moonette. This kind of object is just a theory right now, but scientists think it's possible that it might exist. Maybe someday we'll discover one. There are many strange moons in our solar system, like Io, which is very volcanic, and Triton, which has geysers. But one of the weirdest looking ones is Hyperion. This one is a rocky moon with many craters that looks like a pumice stone. A spacecraft called Cassini also found that Hyperion has a beam of static electricity flowing out from it. The reason for this weird activity is still up for debate. Not all stars behave the same either. When a scientist named Tabitha Boyajian, pronunciation here, https u2.b f8vy63um-56, and her team looked at this star called KICE 846285, they were confused. Also known as Tabby's star, this space object would dim unexpectedly, sometimes for as much as 22%, for random periods of time. However now, most people believe that the star is surrounded by a strange ring of dust that makes it look darker every now and then. Some galaxies are equally unusual. DGSAT I is a type of galaxy called an ultra-diffuse one. This means that it is very big, similar to our own Milky Way galaxy, but it has very few stars and is hard to spot with regular telescopes. Scientists discovered DG Y in 2016 and noticed that it was all by itself, which is unusual for ultra-diffuse galaxies. This means that DG is very old and formed a long time ago, about 1 billion years after the beginning of the universe. NGC 247 is another weird spiral galaxy that looks almost made up. It is smaller than the Milky Way and has bright areas where new stars appear. However, there's also a dark void on one side of the galaxy's core that looks like a hole. Some theories suggest that this void could have been caused by gravitational interactions with another galaxy, or a blob of dark matter. Another theory suggests that it could be the work of another civilization building something weird in there. The Exotica catalog lists some unusual galaxies that might have big civilizations living in them. Scientists are trying to build new telescopes that will make it easier to find them. The Vera C. Rubin Observatory in Chile, for example, will be able to look at the entire sky repeatedly and see if there are any changes that could help us locate some foreign space cousins. Just in case you ever stumble upon this word, a neutrino is a particle smaller than an atom, with no electric charge and a very small mass. They are produced during nuclear reactions, such as those that occur in the sun. Neutrinos are extremely difficult to detect because they interact with other types of matter very weakly. Scientists use large underground or underwater detectors to spot neutrinos. They study their properties to gain a better understanding of the universe and its origins. On September 22, 2017, a powerful neutrino hit Earth. This kind of thing happens often, but this one was special because scientists were able to figure out where it came from. They discovered that it was sent to Earth 4 billion years ago by a very big black hole in a galaxy that was eating up everything around it. Do you think you have an impressive jewelry collection? Wait until you hear this. Astronomers have discovered a planet that is mostly made of diamond. The planet, called 55 Cancri E, is a superplanet and is located in our Milky Way galaxy. Scientists believe that at least a third of the planet's mass is pure diamond. This is the first time a rocky planet with this kind of composition has been discovered. 55. Cancri E is very different from Earth, as it has a lot of carbon and is very hot, making it unlikely for life as we know it to exist on it. We've learned a lot of things about the universe with the help of our trusted Hubble Space Telescope. One of the most famous images taken by it is called the Pillars of Creation. This is a photo of a region of the Eagle Nebula where new stars emerge rapidly. Captured in 1995, this picture allowed us to see massive pillars of gas and dust towering above the nebula, and has become one of the most iconic images of the universe. Some of your friends might even use it as wallpaper on their phones. The sun we spin around is a lone wolf. In reality, many stars in the galaxy have companions. Castor is one of these. It's a group of 6 stars that make up one of the brightest and most beautiful systems in the night sky. People have been looking at Castor for a long time, but they hadn't known it was actually 6 stars until telescopes and spectroscopes were invented. Even with a small telescope, you can see that Castor has 2 main stars, Castor Ea and Ba, that orbit each other. These stars are bigger than the Sun, and it takes them 467 years to orbit each other. Scientists from Asia found over 500 stars that are way weirder than those we've been familiar with. They move quickly around the center of our galaxy, the Milky Way. Some of these stars move so fast that they will, at one point, leave the Milky Way. The team behind the project used 2 telescopes to study these stars and properly understand their speed. These days, we call them high-velocity stars. Prepare for blastoff because there's some exciting news from NASA coming our way. Care to look into the fascinating world of Saturn's moon Titan? NASA's groundbreaking Dragonfly rotorcraft lander is set to take off in 2027 looking to explore this mysterious space object. Now, let me introduce you to Titan. It's an icy celestial body with an atmosphere filled with nitrogen, and it might even have an underground ocean. Titan is also home to rivers and lakes that flow on its surface. But guess what? They're not filled with water like our lovely planet. They have methane instead. Now, let's check out Titan's celestial credentials. It's not just any moon, it's the second largest in our entire solar system. It's only 2% smaller than the biggest moon we have hanging around our neighborhood, which is Jupiter's Ganymede. Titan's size even puts Mercury to shame. And did I mention that its atmosphere is 4 times denser than that of Earth's? Thanks to Titan's lower gravity and thick atmosphere, Dragonfly is the perfect robotic companion to uncover its hidden treasures. Let's move on to Dragonfly, the star of NASA's upcoming mission to Titan. This cosmic drone is not your average explorer. Equipped with a full array of interesting gadgets, Dragonfly is like a flying laboratory, ready to uncover more secrets of Titan. It's the first interplanetary rotorcraft lander probe, designed to take us on an epic journey of discovery. And don't let its name fool you. Dragonfly won't just buzz around aimlessly. This technological marvel is able to glide for several miles between different locations on Titan's surface. Think of it as a cosmic Uber service for scientists. And speaking of technology, Dragonfly is carrying some seriously cool equipment. It will feature the drill for acquisition of complex organics, Draco instrument, which will help us scoop out material from Titan, while the Dragonfly Mass Spectrometer, DRE-MS, will analyze what these samples are made of. But how did we stumble upon Titan? It was March 25th, 1655, when a Dutch astronomer was out there with his telescope, exploring the cosmos. Lo and behold, he spotted something amazing. It was Titan, the biggest moon of Saturn. Fast forward almost 300 years to 1944, when another cool astronomer jumped into the picture. He was doing some experiments with light when he figured out that Titan actually has its very own atmosphere. There's more to this story. In 1979, the Pioneer 11 spacecraft decided to take a joyride through the Saturn system. It confirmed all the cool things scientists had previously speculated about Titan, like its temperature and mass. However, there was one tiny mistake. Those sneaky scientists thought Titan might be the biggest moon in the entire solar system. Oops, wrong guess. Nevertheless, Titan had this mysterious dense atmosphere that kept everyone on their toes. Now, let's zoom in on the 1980s. When the Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft make their grand entrance, these cosmic explorers flew past Saturn, and they wanted to get a good look at Titan's surface. That's when Titan decided to play a game of hide-and-seek with them. Its hazy atmosphere made it impossible to see what was going on down there, so all the Voyagers managed to capture were images of a lonely orange world. However, they did spot a fancy blue haze hanging out in the upper atmosphere. Things started to get really exciting in the 1990s. The Hubble Space Telescope joined the party and decided to take some cool snapshots of Titan using special infrared light. This clever device managed to pierce through the haze, and voila! The Hubble images revealed differently colored areas on Titan, almost like a giant cosmic chessboard. We now know that there's even a bright spot as wide as Australia down there. However, despite these fantastic pictures, the mystery of what lay beneath Titan's haze was still unsolved. It was 2004 when the stage was set for Cassini and its European sidekick, the Huygens probe. They were like the ultimate dynamic duo, ready to take on Saturn. Cassini started orbiting the ringed planet and immediately focused its attention on Titan. The big moment huygens arrived. On January 14, 2005, the Huygens probe pierced through Titan's atmosphere. During its descent, Huygens collected all sorts of amazing data, snapping images and analyzing the atmosphere. The probe then transmitted this valuable information back to Cassini, which, like a cosmic courier, sent it to us eagerly waiting Earthlings. Over the next 13 years, Cassini flew close to Titan over 100 times, using all sorts of fancy instruments to get a good look at the moon's surface and atmosphere. Scientists could finally confirm that Titan had clouds, lakes, and rivers, and there was also some rain pouring down its surface. Thankfully for us, Titan isn't the only moon in our solar system that could technically harbor life. Take the wondrous moon of Neptune called Triton. For starters, it's the largest moon of Neptune, but it's also a real oddball. Among the many moons out there, only 5 are known to be geologically active. And guess what? Triton is proudly part of this exclusive club. It loves to show off its geysers, which spew nitrogen gas. Picture Triton as a fashionista in an icy ensemble. Its surface is mainly frozen nitrogen, giving it a chill, frosty vibe. You might want to bring a warm coat if you ever visit. Now, you may be wondering how Triton manages to keep warm in such a frigid environment. Well, it's got a secret weapon called tidal forces. Imagine Triton and Neptune engaged in a cosmic dance, creating gravitational friction. This dance seems to generate some heat, helping to warm up Triton's waters. With all this talk about heat, you might be getting excited about the possibility of life on Triton. However, finding life on this moon is about as likely as finding a unicorn riding a skateboard. Voyager 2, the only mission to ever fly by Triton, made its journey back in 1989. And if you're hoping for another mission to Triton anytime soon, well, let's just say the stars aren't aligning in our favor. Literally. The window for a mission to Triton opens up only once every 13 years, because our planet and Jupiter need to be perfectly aligned for the landing to work. Scientists would use the gravitational pull of the largest planet in our solar system to safely deliver a probe on Triton. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the polar bear. It's so cold on Triton that hopes for life to survive unfrozen are about as slim as a toothpick. Sorry, potential little microbes. You might need a few extra sweaters to set up shop down there. Even though Triton may not be the most welcoming place for life, it's still a celestial gem worth exploring. Scientists also believe Triton wasn't always a part of Neptune's crew. As it turns out, Triton was most likely just minding its business, hanging around aimlessly in the distant Kuiper belt. Along came Neptune with its mighty gravitational pull, and snatched Triton right out, officially making it a moon of its own. Just like our trusty satellite, Triton is also stuck in a permanent face-off with Neptune. One side of Triton always has its eyes locked on the planet. As for this amazing moon's fate, things aren't looking so good in the long run. It's already getting closer and closer to Neptune every day. Why is that, you might wonder? The problem is with those tidal interactions, which are playing some cosmic tricks on Triton. They're causing its orbit to wither away, like a slow-motion dance towards Neptune. Scientists predict that in about 3.6 billion years, Triton will cross an invisible boundary. If these current calculations are correct, there are 2 possible scenarios. It'll either have a collision with Neptune's atmosphere, or it might just break up into tiny pieces. If the latter happens, an all-new ring system would form around Neptune, just like the one we see around Saturn nowadays. Triton is not the only satellite that might end up this way. Phobos, one of the Martian moons, is likely to disintegrate too, and sooner, in 30 to 50 million years.